Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Dark Powerrr, where we talk about everything that happens on AEW Dark Elevation and NWA Powerrr. The Crockett Cup approaches, and we've got a lot to get to. We've got a lot to talk about. Let's get right into it. What is going on, guys? Like I said, welcome to Dark Powerrr. You know what we talk about. You know what we're here to discuss. But before we get into any of that, I just want to thank you guys. Thank you guys for your likes, your comments, your shares, your subscribes, all the things that allow us to continue doing what we do. The support is appreciated. And if you are part of our Patreon and a special thanks to you as well. You can see my hair is crazy tonight, but if you are considering joining our Patreon, $3 is the entry-level tier that will get you access to all of the special stuff that we are not able to show on YouTube, where sometimes I have better hair. But let's talk about this week's episode of Dark Elevation and Powerrr Elevation. There wasn't too much that stood out to me, but one thing that I did like was on Dark. Dark had a couple things that I liked. Two of them, one of them is kind of match related, but the first is that we saw Session Moth Martina for the second time. Tony Khan's starting to sprinkle in a little bit more ROH people, and that leads me to the second thing, which is Josh Woods. But whereas before we saw Josh Woods taking losses, this is him taking a win. The match itself, nothing crazy. It's like a minute long. But the fact is, what's important about it is that he got the win. And they mention, or Tony Schiavone does an interview with him and brings up the fact that he is the Ring of Honor Pure Champion, and they talk about Tony Khan purchasing Ring of Honor. Now, Josh kind of botched the interview, the promo. It was just kind of a little lackluster, but still, it's a step in the right direction for what we think will happen or what we hope to see happen with Ring of Honor. We did get the news that at Supercard of Honor, we will be seeing the Briscoes taking on FTR with the Ring of Honor tag titles on the line. That's going to be a conversation for Fusion of Honor, which is the other show I'm on, with the three-time baby-making champ Ness. So stay tuned for that, guys. And that's a great way to, if you're part of our Patreon, you get early access to all of those videos for Fusion of Honor. But the other thing that stood out to me, and I think I'm pretty sure it's the thing that stood out to everybody this week on Dark, is that the Young Bucks were on Dark. It was trios action with the Dark Order. What can be said about this match? This was some great comedy spots. The Bucks start off the match. It devolves into comedy, but we kind of know that this is the Bucks just having fun, right? It's them just kicking it. No pun intended with the super kick party. It's just them being able to get a chance to go back to kind of where not it started for them, but kind of where their career had a defining moment, their time in Impact Wrestling, TNA as it was called back then, and them being able to say, do we want to sign with a larger company? They were with Ring of Honor, they were with PWG, they were with Dragon Gate. It's like, do we want to sign with a larger company? Maybe, maybe not. Let's try it out. Generation, we don't need to get into all that, but we can talk about what the history was in the sense of what it means for them now standing in that ring. And Taz talks about that, and so does Excalibur. They bring it up, and it's really cool to see where they were, where they are, and where they will be going. Kind of cool stuff. But speaking of tag teams, speaking of where they're going, we got to talk about the Crockett Cup. And this week's episode of Powerrr is a Power Surge episode, which makes sense. We just had the 3 episodes of Power Trip, so a lot of power going on. But this episode of Power Surge isn't really match heavy, or it's not even really story heavy. It's just more show heavy. It's kind of setting up more and more of the Crockett Cup, which for the setup, because of the idea behind the Crockett Cup and what it is, it's not storyline driven. It's more just the mechanics of what the tournament is. And that's great. That's fine. We will get some matches sprinkled in, but for the most part, the episode is really Corgan, Joe Galley, and I think it was Jack something. I wasn't really paying attention to his name, but he's supposed to be one of the VPs with the NWA, kind of establishing how they made their brackets and how they slotted each team into their specific bracket locations. So I'm not going to break all of that down. There were some kind of interesting tidbits about how they selected people and how they put people here and there. But before we get into any of that and actually preview the Crockett Cup, let's just talk really quickly about the matches that we did see. The first was Saul Rinaro taking on Jay Spade. Spade's going to pick up the win. Rinaro is continuing to lose his mind. You can see him here trying to bite the hand of Spade, which is something he's going to do continually throughout the course of the match. Rinaro is not going to pick up the win, though. A nice match for Spade, who is on NWA USA. The second match was Missa Kate taking on Allison Kay. Allison Kay is going to pick up the win here, but it was a pretty strong showing for Missa Kate for sure, because she really was able to take it to Allison Kay, and Allison Kay sold well for her, but ultimately we kind of knew who was picking up the win here. The first match, we had a little bit of a shocker, so to speak, in the win, which is kind of funny because it's Saul Rinaro as a person you would expect to get the win. But here you kind of expect Allison Kay to get the win. Lo and behold, she does. Finally, the main event match, so to speak, is Judas taking on the other dude from the Rude Dudes. And it's just kind of what you expect from Judas with Father Mitchell. The viciousness, the beatdowns, all that kind of stuff. So the matches themselves were, okay. It felt like a regular Power Surge episode where they're just like, look, you two guys or gals, go in there, have a match. We're going to use this for downtime stuff when we need to burn through. We need to have some kind of matches on there while we talk about other things that are more storyline driven. So let's get to those things. I'm not necessarily going to talk about all the individual matches for the Crockett Cup, simply because it's like, all right, whatever. It's just like we kind of know what a tournament is. It's a single elimination tournament. I think it's cool that they're putting it in March because it's playing off of March Madness. That's very well done on their part. I like the idea of having a 4-way tag team match as a play-in to determine the final 16th spot. That'll be really cool. I don't expect that team to win, considering they're going to be up against La Rebellion, the tag team champions. But either way, it's a cool concept, and I like it. The teams that we're seeing are pretty much our regular-ass NWA tag teams. There's nobody that's really that new to the company or anything like that. There are some interesting pairings. One pairing that I thought was kind of funny was they said Mims and Pope were going to team together against the Cardonas, which is Mike Knox, and VSK, which is just kind of a funny name for the team, considering neither of them are related to Matt Cardona. But what I thought was kind of funny about the explanation of Mims and Pope was that they were talking about how Pope is a mentor to Mims. And part of the story with Anthony Mayweather, Crimson, and Mims and Jax Dane was that Mims was trained by Anthony Mayweather. I mean, I understand you can have a lot of mentors in life and in a business, so it's not too, whatever. But it was just kind of funny. You would think that if Mims was going to team with someone, he would team with Anthony Mayweather. But Mayweather himself is kind of busy, so all right, we'll let it all slide. I think that I want to break down who I think ultimately is going to win the Crockett Cup. That's the next place to go. We have some big, heavy-hitting teams, one of which is the Briscoe brothers. I already mentioned La Rebellion. We have Strictly Business in here. We have Dirty Dango and JTG, but I'm trying to figure out who should be winning this Crockett Cup. A part of me really wants to say the Briscoes, but a part of me also knows it shouldn't be the Briscoes. a part of me knows that the NWA is probably going to do one of their own teams. Now, La Rebellion have kind of been heels when they first came in, but then up against Odinson and Pero, they were faces. So it's they kind of blow whichever way the wind blows or wherever NWA needs them to be at the moment, and you can always have somebody turn. But that said, I guess it's kind of the question of who am I looking forward to the most potentially winning? And a part of me really likes Adonis and Latimer as winning this. Latimer needs the win, for sure, for sure. He just lost the feud with Nick Aldis. He needs to bounce back. And it wasn't just losing a feud. That was a real blood feud. It was a vicious match. And it was an I Quit match. And he didn't really quit. It wasn't his fault. Camille was the one who threw in the towel for him. So he needs a bounce back match. Meanwhile, Adonis, I said Anthony Mayweather is busy. Adonis lost the national title. So I think that them winning the Crockett Cup would be a good way to bounce back for both of them. Keep them both in the mix. They don't necessarily need to beat La Rebellion for the titles, but if they did, I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. Let's keep these two guys around because Latimer at least is an interesting character. And then in the pecking order, the totem pole of who is important in the NWA, he's a fairly important guy. So let's just break down really quickly the other matches on night 2, the kind of more of a pay-per-view feel. We have the Hex defending the NWA Women's Tag titles against Pretty Empowered, Ella Envy, and Kenzie Page. I'll give this one to the Hex. I don't see no reason for them to do a title change. Tyrus is defending against Rodney Mack, the television championship. There's actually a little bit of a story behind this, which is kind of cool. I'm going to give this one to Tyrus. Because I think it gets him closer to getting that lucky number 7. I think he's at 5 or 6, which this could potentially be 7. So we'll see. We're going to get the finals of the Junior Heavyweight Championship Tag Tournament. Now, if you've been watching NWA USA, and I'll admit I haven't been catching every single episode, there's been some really good wrestling. There's been some good matches. And we're left with Aries, Homicide, Darius Lockhart, Colby Carino. A part of me would love for them to put the title on Colby Carino just because of how good of a heel he is and how good of an asshole and just how good of being an asshole he is. But a part of me also feels as though if you have Austin Aries in this match, you kind of go where the star power is. So I'm going to go with Aries picking up the win here. The next one that we have to talk about is Camille defending against Kylie Ray and Chelsea Green, another multi-person match for a title. This one's pretty interesting. I ultimately want to side with Camille. I don't think it's time for her to lose the title, though losing it in a multi-person match, especially if she's not involved in the finish, hey, you're going to get that singles match down the road for whoever ended up getting the title. So I can see a situation where Kylie Ray or Chelsea Green picks up the win. In fact, I think it'll be kind of interesting if Chelsea Green does, and maybe that's a hint for what I hope will happen in the main event. But before we get to the main event, one match that we got to talk about, or the last match we got to talk about, is Anthony Mayweather putting that newly won national championship up on the line against Jack Stane. This is a long feud. It's a long story. There has not been a lot developing it super recently, at least on NWA Powerrr itself. But this is a story that we kind of know the players. We know the motivations behind each character. There's not really that much for us to complain about here, even if there hasn't been a huge amount of development for the story itself. You kind of would think that Jack Stane and Rodney Mack would be fighting each other in a non-title situation because Rodney is still upset at Jax for disrespecting his wife. But hey, there's time for that. No worries. Here I'll go with Anthony Mayweather picking up the win. The only thing I'm not sure about, and I want to look into this, is whether or not Jack Stane is getting this title shot just because of the issues between the two guys, or just because of the fact that they needed a title match, or if this is him cashing in his Champion Series opportunity. I find it hard to believe that he would, but hey, I haven't been checking out as much NWA USA, so feel free to leave in the comments if you did and I've just missed it. It wouldn't be smart, and that's part of what has made Jax Dane an interesting heel, is because he comes across as this just not lumbering, but like a blocky meathead kind of guy. But there's actually a lot of intellect going on, and the character makes relatively smart decisions for being a heel. We know what he did with Anthony Mayweather and Mims, pitting them against each other. And that leads us to our main event. Our main event, Matt Cardona defending his also newly won NWA World's Heavyweight Championship against Nick Aldis. The ending of Power Surge this week is a sit-down interview between the two of them, with Joe Galli kind of being the referee or the person in between. And it was really good. I got to say, it was really well done. You can see in Cardona I'm pretty sure I've said this before on Dark Power, or I've said this before on Fusion of Honor. Every villain believes that they're the hero of their own story. They have to. Why else would they do what they do? They believe they are right. And Cardona, as much as somebody may disagree with him, believes in his heart that he is right. He believes he's saving the NWA. He believes he is the future. He believes that he has put in the work. He believes that he is the deathmatch king. He believes all these things. And you can see it in his eyes. You can see it with or hear it how he talks. You believe him. That's important. With Cardona, it's a really well done gimmick. It's a really well done character. It's not something that's new, but with his spin on it, it's something that is portrayed very well. And meanwhile, Aldis literally just has to be Aldis. That he's basically just being himself. He's being the same Nick Aldis that we've known for years and years whenever Nick Aldis is a face. But it works because as much as Cardona wants to spit in the face of tradition and face of legacy, even though in his mind he is honoring that legacy. He is upholding that legacy. You have somebody in Aldis who also believes he is upholding that legacy, who also believes that he is doing what needs to be done to pay homage, to pay respect to those who have come before. So both of these guys have great motivations. And Aldis made the point of stating that after Trevor beat him, he stepped back to give Trevor the shine, to let Trevor have the spotlight. And right now, Trevor can't go because of the injury that happened during the match. So it's Nick's responsibility to step up. And part of that, just him saying that responsibility is what I'm saying by upholding the legacy. Upholding legacy means stepping in when it's needed. So Nick is doing that. Cardona just knows how to get under Nick's skin. It's really well done. It's a cool storyline. I want Cardona to win. I don't want them to just put the title back on Nick Aldis. And even though Nick in my mind, Nick should lose, I hope that they find a way to continue the story, that it isn't just a one-off. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to. So, guys, we're trying to do a watch-along for the Crockett Cup. I will be on there, my internet permitting. But until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Thank you for tuning in once again. Like I said, and I will keep saying, we always appreciate the support. And thank you, guys. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other.